I am here today with the lovely Holly, whose channel is Library at the Edge of the World, and I will leave a link to her channel below if you haven't already checked it out. You should do. We're here today to talk to you about our utter, complete, all-encompassing love for His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman, because we're already emotional. We just filmed a tag video over on her channel about His Dark Materials and I'm feeling quite teary. This video is going to be full of spoilers, so if you haven't read the books, please go and read them. They own bits of our hearts, if not all of our hearts, so please go read them, then come back and watch this video.
They have shaped us as human beings.
That's deep hot. Yes, they have. So we were contacted by Claire at New Writing North, and she is one of the organisers of the Durham Book Festival, and this year their book of the festival is Northern Lights by Philip Pullman. They are giving away 3,000 free copies to libraries and schools and communities, and it's great. And she asked us if we would like to make a video about why we love His Dark Materials. We are not being paid to make this video, it's not a sponsored video. She just asked us if we wanted to do it in the general spirit of books, and we were like, yeah, yeah, we would. So we are making this video talking about, these books and why we love them. And we haven't planned this, so it's probably going to be a bit all over the place.
Might be quite long.
It might be. We don't know yet. You know, because you're watching it. We don't know yet.
So Jen wrote her dissertation.
I did. And you guys have been
Facebook.
asking me to talk about my dissertation. And I will mention it here. So I wrote my dissertation for my MA on His Dark Materials and Peter Pan and Narnia. And the title was To Grow Up Would Be an Awfully Big Adventure, an analysis of growing up as a sin in children's literature. And now I will talk about little bits here, but I can't talk about all of it because it was like a year's work. And it's really long. I could sit here and read it out to you, but that would be probably not very fun for any of us. So I've pulled this book to bits, and I still love it. And I think that says a good thing about the book, because when you study something and you pull it to bits and you still love it, that's great. So Philip Pullman wrote Northern Lights as an antidote, he said, to Narnia, which he says is the most poisonous children's book of all time. Now there is a reason for this. See, I can't explain properly. Narnia lovers, please don't hate me.
I mean, I still love Narnia, and I know this about it. And
yeah, exactly.
I don't like the kind of motives behind it.
It's very problematic. So Diggory and Polly, they discover a world which is like
Chittagazze.
There we go. They discover Chittagazze, which is the in-between world. It's like purgatory, isn't it? It's like it's in-between world where nothing really exists, but you can get to other worlds from
all these
it.
pools.
I'm just kidding you. Sorry. There are all these pools, yes, and they get there by using dust in Narnia. So they have this ring that makes dust.
Well, they have two rings.
Yes.
There's a green one and a yellow one.
Yeah, there you go.
It's all coming back to me.
Yeah,
now.
and there's dust, and they go into this non-world place. It's very dark, and then they go into this other world that's dying, and they discover this person called Jardis, who is the White Queen, and she claws herself out of this world by attaching herself to the kids with the rings. Yeah, and they lead her into Narnia by accident. They're not supposed to bring anybody into this world, but they do, because, you know, we're humans and we're awful. We ruin everything. So they go into Narnia.
Which is a fair point, but...
And it's a fair point, and Aslan is there, and he's creating the world. And Jardis is there, and she's like, wow, I'm going to ruin this shit. So she finds a garden with lots of trees that have apples on them, and she eats an apple.
I wonder what that is.
Oh, God. Okay, so Narnia comes winter, and Jardis is there, and she's ruling over everything. And then in the sequel, in Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, Aslan is there. The kids fall into Narnia, and...
it's basically their job to make this right.
Yeah, it is. They're supposed to correct the human mistakes of old.
Yeah, it's kind of like the second coming in some ways.
It is,
yeah.
and Aslan is crucified. Well, is he crucified? He's not actually crucified, he's killed. Yeah, so Aslan is tied up and killed and resurrected because he is Jesus.
On stone.
And so it has, I'm coming across as quite agitated here, but it has great magical elements and it's great adventure stories for kids.
But C.S. Lewis said that he wrote them not so that you would realise as you were reading them as a child that this was religious, but then you would come to read the Bible later on and you would recognise,
which is what happens,
and you would
it is, because I didn't read it when I was younger thinking oh my god, this is Jesus.
No
Aslan is Jesus.
And you're not supposed to, but you're supposed to sort of then welcome Jesus into your life as a friend.
Yes, it is really it is a form of religious propaganda in a way, but it does have those.
The same thing about
you could.
But it's kind of the counter.
Yeah. So the thing that Philip Pullman really didn't like about Narnia was that at the end of Narnia, all of the children get killed in real life. They're all killed in a train crash.
Oh, apart from Susan.
That's the problem. So
I always really identified with Susan.
Yeah.
But she's not allowed back into Narnia because she's interested in lipstick and boys.
Yes, she is. So yeah, Aslan says that all of the kids are just casually, you're all dead, by the way. I've just killed you all in a train crash. So you get to live in Narnia forever, which is heaven. Because C.S. Lewis thought that being a child and being innocent was much better than growing up and being an adult, so that kids should die when they're young so that they are sin-free. So that was the message that Pullman hated. He was like, no.
Yeah.
And as Holly said, Susan was forbidden to get into heaven because she liked boys and lipstick. Like, that's the actual quote. She liked boys and lipstick too much. Yeah. That is very problematic. So there's lots of great stuff about Narnia, but there's stuff in there that just makes me want to hit things. Mainly C.S. Lewis. So Pullman wrote his Dark Materials as an answer to Narnia because the central message of this book, as well as it being an adventure story
and a children's book,
is that growing up is great, sex is awesome, and that everyone should grow up and have sex.
Let's just ruin your childhoods.
Yeah. So basically that was what my dissertation was about. It was about.
I want to read it.
So it was about looking at all of the different representations of Eve within his Dark Materials, because there are many. Lyra's one, Mrs. Coulter is one, Mary's kind of one, but she's also the serpent because she tempts Lyra and tells her about sex. Yeah, that was what my dissertation was about, and it was also looking at Peter Pan. So there was Narnia, which was growing up is bad and awful and wrong, and sex is bad, and Philip Pullman, that's at the other end, and Peter Pan sits in the middle, where they're not really sure. But that's probably a whole other video because I could talk about Peter Pan a lot and I could really ruin your childhood with that one. Tinkerbell stumbles home drunk from an orgy in Peter Pan. Did you know that? That's not in the Disney version, but it's in the novel. It's in the novel. The play was for kids, the novel was not so much for kids. And there is this whole thing about... No, it's another video. It's another video, but the person who plays Hook has to be the person who plays Mr. Darling. Those were J.M. Barrie's stage things. And Peter Pan is played by a girl. That is also the rule for the stage. So Peter Pan is Wendy, Hook is her dad, and they're fighting because her dad wants her to move into a separate bedroom because she's all grown up now and she should be on her own. So, in Lyra's world, who is the main character, Lyra has a demon. And a demon is your soul and your sexuality on the outside of your body. So people in Lyra's world who are straight have a demon who is the opposite sex of them, and people who are gay have a demon who's the same sex as them. I'm not sure if you're bisexual. What happens then?
Yes, I was just wondering that.
There's no place for me in Philip Pullman's world, apparently. Okay, so yes, so your demon is not just your soul, it's also your sexuality, because when people get close and they have sex, their demons fondle each other, for want of a better word. So at the beginning of the book, there's an investigation into what's called dust, and we find out that dust is original sin, and original sin collects on people as they get older. And your demon, when you're younger, is changing all the time, changing shape, changing animal. They're amazing. I want a demon.
Yes, so much.
And when you get to teenager, so basically when you reach sexual maturity, your demon fixes. It becomes one animal. And the magisterium, who's the church in this, think it would be better if that didn't happen because sex is bad. And so they have set up something called the Oblation Board, run by Lyra's mother, Mrs. Coulter, and they're running experiments to separate the bond between children and demons. So
this is why you like it so much. It's like the Dumb House and all of these
experiments on children. Yeah, that's what I love. Yeah, clearly. So they set up this like guillotine thing with it's horrible. There's a scene where Lyra and Pan, who's her demon, are in one of those machines and thankfully are saved from being separated. And it's like the thing that is used, I probably can't find it in here, but it's like rape. There is a bit, it says that Lyra, when they picked up Pan, it said that it felt like someone was reaching inside her, touching a part of her that no one had ever touched before, and they shouldn't be there. So that's
but
like that violation.
It's also a bit like lobotomy or something.
It is.
Yeah. It's really not.
It's grotesque and not cool.
Yeah.
It's not cool. And it's like castration, and it's all of that. And
so you're just left as a shell, basically.
Yeah, you are. Oh no, what's his name? Billy Costa. Oh, Billy, and his fish. Oh no! So Philip Pullman goes through this adventure journey of Lyra trying to bring down, she doesn't know what she's doing though, bringing down the magisterium, but basically all she's doing is growing up and finding love. But in doing so,
and she's trying to save the people that she loves as well.
Exactly. So she doesn't know what she's doing, but in the actions that she does, she helps bring down this power and make people realise that dust is a good thing and the original sin is good. And it's so beautiful. We can't talk about it properly in a short video like this. We're just picking out elements that mean a lot. I think the scene that broke my heart the most is when they go to the world of the dead.
Oh.
And she has to leave Pan behind. Oh my god.
Actually, there are so many moments in this as well. At the end of the second book.
What's the end of the second book?
With Will and his father. That.
No. There are different worlds in these novels. Lyra, who's our main character, exists in a world that's like our Victorian Oxford, but has different elements of technology in it, which makes it more advanced. There are different communities. There are witches.
It's kind of like a steampunk type.
It's very, it is actually. And I was thinking, I've never read steampunk before I read The Invisible Library, but I guess I have. It is quite steampunky.
Like kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
But there are these sort of magical elements which are sort of explained, but some things aren't, like the witches. And the witches is very interesting.
The witches.
What can you tell me about the witches?
I didn't really do much about the witches, I have to say, but I do find them fascinating. So they're all women. They don't age. And they can live for thousands of years.
They're kind of like the female version of the angels in some ways.
Yes. So the angels are men. There is so the angels are men, kind of, or at least they were. They say they were in a past life. It was Balthamos and Bacchus. Is that who you say his name?
I can't remember.
There is a beautiful relationship between two male angels, and it's beautiful. That's my coherent thing about it. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So the women, the witches, they live for a very, very long time, but they mate with mortal men, and they have sons. Do they only have sons? Or if they have a son, it's a mortal man, and if they have a daughter, she's a witch.
Yeah, that's right. But they kind of ooze sexuality.
Oh yeah, they do. They're very wise.
They are. And they have sort of magical powers as well.
They can. It's like mindfulness, isn't it? They make themselves invisible, but it's through making themselves look inconspicuous. They're not actually invisible. They just shrink into the background.
Yeah.
And can become
it's not exactly
a nobody.
Explained, but
no, it's not. It's amazing. So then Lyra meets Will, who's from our world. Yeah. And Will's a very complex character too.
He is. Yeah, we're dropped in at this moment where he's sort of having to he's sort of having to become an adult in many ways, because he's had this role of looking after his mother since his father has disappeared.
And Lyra, on the other side of the scale, feels like she's never known her parents, but she finds out that she has. They just haven't. They're quite bad parents, really.
They're kind of awful parents.
They kind of match in that way, and that Lyra's been independent since she was tiny, and is a wildcat, and he is learning to be a wildcat because he's been looking after his mother. That makes me think of High School Musical, by the way. Go Wildcats. No, anyway, so Will's mum, that's terribly sad too. She's she thinks people are following her. And they actually are, but
we assume that it's something like schizophrenia or something.
She's very paranoid.
Some mental health issues in there as well that are not explored to a great depth.
No, they're not.
But because all of the characters are so complex, that they kind of are in various ways.
But that's why I think it's so brilliant, because no matter how little you see of a character, you actually formulate quite a good idea of what they're like and where they're from and how they feel. He's horrible.
Yeah, but we don't see much of him at all, really. And
No.
I think that's where the demons come in as well, because you can tell so much about a person.
Yeah, it's like,
and what
well,
they're
Lord
doing.
Boreal's demon's a snake. He's bad.
I wonder what that means.
He's very bad.
But it's also very convenient when he's in this other world, because it can hide up his sleeve.
Exactly, that's true.
Just having a snake up your sleeve.
Especially considering what it stands for. Moving on. A character who I love a lot is Mary Malone. And she's from Will's world, and she's a scientist. She's basically doing a study into elemental particles, is that what they call them?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is dust, which is original sin, and she's noticed that a computer can kind of pick up the energy of original sin, and she's been studying skulls and objects of humans, and when this came about, and it came about when we started to be conscious, I suppose. Yeah, and so she's doing research into that, and then Lara stumbles into her world and is like, I'm looking at original sin. I can tell you about dust.
And Mary Malone's like, what is this thing?
And I'm a scientist, and I shouldn't listen to like crazy goings on, and you're talking nonsense, but it makes sense to me. So Lara's like, use your I Ching, and she's like, but science.
And then there's the whole thing about academia and funding. And
yeah,
as well.
so good.
Yes. Oh.
We're just fangirling. I don't care. Fangirling is good.
I love all those academic parts of it, though. That's I think that's maybe where my love of the idea of university comes from as well.
Holly really loves books set in universities. She made a video about that. She goes, the I Ching tells her to go to this roundabout where there's a window into another world.
With a tent.
With a tent.
She steals an ID.
She does.
Oh, she's awesome.
She's very so kick-ass. The women in this are kick-ass. They are fantastic.
So are some of the blokes, but
they are, but the women are good. So she goes into can't say that word. And then she goes into the world of the welfare. And this reminds me of the Book of Strange New Things, but the other way around, because I read this one first. And that comes across this, in my head, they're like elephants. They're like elephants, they talk with their trunks, and they have a diamond structure. So it also talks about evolution. And she learns how to communicate with them. So like she's learning words. It's like the Garden of Eden. And then Will and Lyra stumble into their world, and she talks to them about sex. And then they have sex, and the world is saved. The last book made me cry a lot. There is an amazing bit, which I think maybe is my favourite, which may be a good place to end, is Will and Lyra have to go into the world of the dead. And they can't take their demons with them because your soul dies when you die. And everyone goes to this underworld place, which they think is going to be heaven, and it's not. And everyone is underground and unhappy and stuck there. And all they want to do is be in the world again. So Will and Lyra go to cut an opening into another world so that they can escape, become particles of dust, and become everything. At the point when they go into the world of the dead, there is a harpy there called No Name. Yes. And she won't let them in because she's like, you're not dead, so I'm not allowed to let you in. And then eventually they manage to get in, and they keep getting dived on by these harpies. And Lyra's like, no, wait, I'll tell you stories. So Lyra tells the harpies the story of her life, like all of these books, basically, and they love her for it. So Lyra decides to give a name to the main harpy and says that her job is to escort people through the world of the dead and out through this window that they've created in exchange for stories, because stories make the world go round and make the world a better place.
And these are children's books, believe it or not.
Yeah, but like Narnia, you can read them just as the adventures.
Yeah, I mean, I did not see any of this when I read them at the age of 8 or 9.
Yeah.
But every time I've reread them since, I've seen more and realised another piece of the puzzle.
If any of you guys would like me to make a video about Peter Pan, or if you would like me to make... please. Let me know if you want more talk on His Dark Materials, or if there's more stuff you'd like us to chat about and our thoughts about that we haven't talked about here, because there's so much we haven't talked about. Leave a comment down below.
Yes, give us directions.
Yeah, then we'll chat. We'll either make another video or we'll talk to you in the comments, or both.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got a lot more to say.
Because we've just kind of generally talked here, haven't we?
We've just,
It would be good to have
maybe we
a
could,
topic.
in the future...
Give us questions.
Maybe in the future we could do a buddy read.
Yeah.
Over the winter maybe, and reread them again, and
that
let you know our thoughts, where we'd be a bit more maybe coherent. So thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already watched it, go and watch the His Dark Materials tag.
It's not quite so intense. It's not quite intense, but
still
not
quite intense. We're very intense people. And we will see you guys very, very soon. Lots of bookish love.